Okay, welcome everyone. We're here with another CTFSN conversation. I'm Crystal Sacco, and I am a family support coordinator with the Connecticut Family Support Network. This conversation today is sponsored by the Anderson Center for Autism. Today we're here with Corine Jackson. Corine is a recreation therapist assistant with the Department of Developmental Services. Hi, Corine.
Hi.
How are you on this bright sunny day?
Oh, I'm lovely. It's so nice to finally have some wonderful weather.
Some time outside to enjoy yourself, right?
Yes, yes,
That's,
yes.
that's great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about first what a recreation therapist does?
Okay, so for me, I find it easier to sort of first define what like a rehab therapist does. And we pretty much all know that a rehab therapist is somebody who we go to once we've had an injury, or maybe we were born with something that needs strengthening, and they work with us in like a gym type setting or hospital type setting, and they work our muscles and they help us build up our physical strength again. So a recreational therapist does something very similar, except that they do it in the realm of what I call fun, just fun. And the fun is specific to the person that's receiving the recreation therapy. So I really love recreation therapy because of its being so person-centered. If you try to offer me an activity to do to help me build up my communication skills, and I'm not interested, it's not going to be successful. But if we find something that the person's interested in, we just take off from there.
That's very true. I used to see that when I worked with the children with developmental disabilities, that the more fun it was to them, or the more exciting it was to them, the more likely they were to engage in the opportunity. So, but how did you get involved with the Department of Developmental Services?
Well, actually, I was a recreational therapist assistant for the Department of Developmental Services about 1998 I started.
Oh boy.
And there was a department then, yes. And we were all pretty much laid off in early 2003.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough to continue doing this type of work at a private agency, Marrakesh. And they really supported the idea of how important recreation is to the greater whole being of a person. And then I recently had the opportunity to come back to DDS, and I'm thrilled.
I'm so glad that you're able to do that. My familiarity with recreation therapy is basically only in the realm of like in senior citizen or assisted living type of situation. So I wasn't even aware that agencies like Marrakesh offered that. So that's very, very good to know.
Sure.
So how does, like, if you in terms of recreational therapy, how does it differ, like in the sense of, say, maybe a physical therapist was coming to work with a student?
So, I think that it doesn't just, recreation therapy isn't just maybe if you have a physical need, it's also an emotional need, a cognitive need. It kind of encompasses your whole quality of life. And so, maybe it's helping you socialize with others. And maybe it's helping you learn to integrate into a community that you're interested in being a part of. And I also think it's just as physical therapy, the activities can be modified to the needs of the person.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So now, working with developmentally disabled, is there a difference, or does it matter what the level of functioning is, or the age of the individual, or how does that work?
So that's a tricky balance. Of course, we want to be with people of like ability, like interests, and appropriate, right? And so you don't want teenagers doing an activity with maybe people in their 60s. What's tricky about it is when you're trying to cover a large group of people. Like right now, I have the South region of Connecticut DDS, specific to the self-determination department. But because we're virtual, I'm making it available to anyone who's interested. Now, I have noticed that some people are not interested in some of the things I'm doing right now because it's Disney or something or karaoke. And so what I'm doing is I'm modifying and I'm getting ready to host a social group with, popular topics, hot topics, and hoping to attract people. We notice people really want to talk. That's one of the big keys I'm finding is everybody really feels the need to communicate. And I think it's because of us all being shut in for so long. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So you work individually or with groups?
I'm with groups for
Oh,
now.
just with
Yeah.
groups for now.
Yes.
And
Yes.
anyone who is a DDS client can access your services?
So my position is so brand new and it's sort of growing as needed. My understanding is because I'm doing virtual, anybody can access me with or without DDS services. But once we go back into the communities, it's going to look different, and I'm not sure how it's going to look.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long does a session usually last, and how often?
I have 2 sessions a week right now, and I try to give people like regularity, a schedule, something they can know that is always there. Tuesday nights at 6 and Thursdays at 3. And we use Zoom. We use the same Zoom link every time to make it really easy. And the events go about 45 minutes long, but that's temporary. Eventually, they're going to go longer once we're able to access longer amounts of time on Zoom.
Oh, that's great. So has there been a lot of difficulty providing services over Zoom versus being in person? I know that you said sometimes you have a little trouble with people just wanting to talk or not having the interest, but do you find there's a lot of it's a lot more difficult?
It's hard because if, say, we're doing a music event and I had a musician, an amazing woman, Anne Marie, played and sang and basically took requests for anybody who joined us. And she was wonderful and she encouraged everybody to sing along. But when they did, if they weren't muted, you didn't hear Anne Marie anymore. So I had to mute people so we could enjoy Anne Marie. And hopefully they still sang and enjoyed and felt a part of it.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult. I find the same thing is oftentimes when I'm doing something, the muting, the requirement because of whatever, like you're saying, like the noise or whatever. And then I think people sometimes don't know that they could then go and unmute or then come back and participate because, they're worried about maybe the noise interruption again. So I can see that being difficult.
It is, it's a balance and it's hilarious. There are people who sure do know how to unmute. And they get right back in there to chat with me.
Well, that's great. That's awesome. Do you ever work within group homes or anything like that as well? Or, do services for group homes?
I don't believe that will be the direction. Although, like I said, we have had people participate from group homes on the Zoom events. But my understanding is this is more focused for the self-determination community.
The self-determination. That's okay. Wonderful. Good to know. Okay. And do you have any idea, like, is there a time frame as to when people might be able to be back in person to work?
We're all waiting for the answer to that. Even as employees, we don't know when we are going to be back in person. So I'm excited for it whenever it happens. I'm ready.
I know now that the nice weather has come along too, it'd probably be even better to have people, get that experience again. So can you give us a little bit more information, like maybe describe some, I know you said you were doing karaoke or what other types of activities would you do that would encourage some of their development or specific areas?
At first, I was trying to get fancy and use these systems that have come out since COVID, where you can create your own trivia game show. And I would just plug in trivia questions, and then it would do all the bells and whistles if people got it wrong or right. But then I came up with just playing 2 seconds of a video song without the camera on and letting people guess, basically name that tune. And that was huge. People love that. And they're so good at it. It's uncanny, people really know within the first couple seconds the song. And I let them pick a genre because I always try to involve choice, as much as possible. So I would have a whole list of genres, and each person gets an opportunity to choose what kind of music they'd like me to try with them.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. No,
Yeah.
you mentioned that it's specific to the individual. How is their goals or their plan created?
So, I'm not in a, what is it called? Like almost a rehabilitation or clinical. I'm not doing that type of recreation therapy. Mine is very broad. At this point, I'm not doing home visits and assessments with people to find out what their needs are. Years ago, we did do that with DDS. But right now, we're just, I think, trying to cover a broad gamut. And then,
So just generalized areas of that might be in need of assistance right now with all of the restrictions.
Right.
That's very interesting. Do you have any events coming up specifically? I know just the regular nights you were saying, but is there any?
Well, today at 3:00, we have Connecticut's Got Talent. People have contacted me. I asked them to email me that if they'd like to present or, share their talent. And I've gotten some great offers, and I'm sure I'm going to have people who want to participate right on the spot, and they'll be welcome to. And we're hoping that the word spreads, and this interview, I'm sure, will be helpful. And more people. I'll probably repeat it next month. When something is popular, I do more of it. When something doesn't seem to be of interest, I nix it and I move on to the next thing.
Keep going and keep evolving, right? That's what we all have to do. Absolutely. How are people finding out about your events? Are you, where can they look to find out?
So DDS has a Facebook page, which I never knew until I was in this position. And they've been posting my events. I have a monthly calendar, and sometimes there's even specialty flyers that come out. DDS website has something called the Advocates Corner, and we put the calendar in there, I think, pretty much because our self-advocate coordinators, there are 10 self-advocate coordinators in Connecticut, and they're very involved in assisting me and sometimes just running these events. They all have self-advocacy groups. They have communities of people that they know and work with. They have a sense of what's of interest. So they say, you know what, Corine, my group loves Family Feud. Can we do that? Can we try that? And then they host it, So
we've done a lot of work with the self-advocates. They're wonderful.
They are amazing. They are amazing. And that's a special treat I did not expect when I was hired, is to be able to work with this great community of self-advocates.
Well, and we certainly can distribute your information as well, too. So we can get that word out there on our email lists or on our pages.
Excellent.
So if somebody wanted to access your services directly, who should they just contact you, or how would that work?
Yes, Corine .jackson@ctgot.gov. I'm happy to communicate with anyone and everyone who's interested or has questions. What we're hoping is for this to become almost like a natural resource eventually, as develop organically, in the sense that maybe there will be a group of people in Northwest Connecticut who see each other every week or something, or find out that they have a lot in common through my events. And then there's either a really savvy person who can use Zoom on their own, or with the assistance of a parent, or a sister or a brother, and they kind of take over this event. And all I do is share the information for them and maybe get it going. And I no longer
that's something that's all over. Oh, that's a great idea.
Because it should get to the point where you don't need someone like me. I always say my job is working myself out of a job, that we should be finding those things offered to us. Our relationships, our natural relationships built in our local communities.
The best teachers, they say, are the ones that teach you to want to learn, to want to do it for yourself.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. Okay. So, well, is there anything else you would like to share with us?
I think we covered all the topics. I'm excited to share that that we're doing this again. for a long time, I was involved with Special Olympics, and I know people are missing that terribly. And that is the perfect example to me of recreation therapy, because that was something that appealed to people and got them exercising without having the sense that they were exercising, and
Absolutely, absolutely.
getting them involved with community, especially if it was the Special Olympics that's integrated. I'm blanking out on the name of it. With people with and without developmental
Oh, I wasn't
disability.
even aware that there was a Special Olympics that was integrated.
Oh yeah, where is it? I'm looking at my notes very quickly. There's a word for it and I'm just blanking out.
That's okay. We could find it.
Basically, it's yes. So you have people who volunteer, whether they have a disability or not, who are participate or on the team as equal teammates. They do it a lot with their relays, with their softball, with their soccer, with their basketball, and it adds a whole different level. Unified sports.
Oh, unified sports. Okay, yes, yes. That goes through the high school. That goes through high school. It starts in the high school age group, right?
They do it with high school, and then they do it with adults as well. And it's just the most rewarding
I
experience.
didn't realize it went through adulthood. I know it started as part of high school. That's good to know. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. And if anyone has any questions for Corine, we can have you reach her again at Corine, CORINE.Jackson@ct.gov.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me, Corine.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Take care.